Can I ask you guys a question? What actually changed? What actually changed about Pokemon investing at a fundamental level? 6 months ago, everybody was saying buy, 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 buy. Everything was going up, prices were doubling. You could have just had a list of Pokemon cards, thrown a dart at that list, whatever it landed on, invested in, and you would have made money. So, what has fundamentally changed? That's the question I posed to you and the question I wanted to answer this past week. Now, before we get into Pokemon, I wanted to start with one of my favorite psychology experiments ever conducted, the elevator experiment. Now, in this experiment, a man was on the elevator, and 2 to 3 other people would get on the elevator that were in on the experiment. And what they would do is they would face the opposite way you normally would within an elevator. Now, obviously, you can see here in the middle, the guy that's not in on the experiment, or is the subject, is really uncomfortable. And after a while, what does he do? He turns around and does what everybody else is doing, even though he knows it's fundamentally wrong. All right, so the reason why I showed you guys that experiment is because I think that's a lot of what's going on in the Pokemon card space today. I think a lot of people love ultra modern cards. Me personally, I think they're awesome. I think the artwork is incredible. I think some of these sets are way undervalued, honestly, and I'm loving the direction that Pokemon is taking with these sets and some of the artwork that I see. But I think a lot of people have consumed content that have made them face the wrong way in the elevator. And I'm here to tell you that not much has fundamentally changed with Pokemon. Not really much. The foundation of Pokemon, as you can see at the bottom here, I drew this in 2 seconds, but the foundation of Pokemon is gambling and nostalgia. And that has not been attacked, right? The gambling side of things can be attacked with new law, right? Making it so that, let's say, every pack has to have a hit, or every box has to have multiple hits, etc. So that hasn't been attacked. And also, people still want what's in these packs. Let's say Pokemon started using AI artwork. That could change everything. I know I wouldn't want what's in the packs anymore. I'd be pretty upset. So I don't think that's something they should ever change, because that would honestly hurt their foundation. And I think the Pokemon card company knows that. But on the nostalgia side, kids still love Pokemon. And it's still their target audience, right? And I see people all the time, they say, well, these kids aren't really ripping these cards, so they're not really going to be nostalgic for it in the future. I think a lot of you are underestimating the love a parent has for their kids. And I think something that's extremely predatory in this hobby is going to a local card store and a $90 ETB is marked up to $170 because they know the parent will buy it and doesn't know better. That's extremely much more predatory than pretty much anything else that's going on in this hobby, in my personal opinion. Just in my opinion, right? But there's many other ways to get kids to like Pokemon and to become nostalgic about it. They can watch the show, they can play the games, right? And also just go to these shows, right? I see so many kids that are there with their dad or their mom, and they're at these shows and they're trading cards and they're making deals, etc. That's going to drive future demand. And I think people are really underestimating that, right? These shows are still packed. I can't move within these shows, right? People are still ripping packs like crazy. I saw so many rip till you hits when I was at Collecticon. If you go on Whatnot, everything is being ripped on Whatnot. And vintage is still desirable and booming. You see new all-time high sales every week. It's just crazy at this point, right? My generation, we still love Pokemon, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. And I don't know about you guys, but I still can't find product in retail stores, and neither can my friends. So at a fundamental level, nothing has really changed within the Pokemon card space the way that these videos have made it seem. Because at the end of the day, every set is someone's first set. Okay, I'll say it again. Every set is someone's first set. And that will drive future demand through nostalgia. So I want to ask you guys a question. When you see these two charts, what do you see? At a basic level, I see the chart on the left going up and the chart on the right going down. That's what it is at a basic level. But the way that I want you guys to view price, and the way that I view price, is almost as a sentiment score, or how the market views a card. Because price reflects sentiment today, not tomorrow's value. I always want you to be thinking about what you think the value of a card or of a product is, right? And I want you to see if you can find a mismatch of the current sentiment in the market. You will create opportunities and create value for yourself, monetary value, when you find these mismatches. You want to invest when sentiment is low and AKA wrong. The Pokemon market does not know what it wants until it's told what it wants. Remember that, right? You'll see a lot of people. Let's say a card is down here, right? This is the Mewtwo from Destined Rivals. When a card is up here and it's $600, people are like, this card is amazing. This is the best card ever. I want to own it in a PSA 10. Wow, I need to get myself a copy. I wish I got a copy at $450, right? And then $450 will come and they won't buy it. Do you want to know why? It's because the price reflected their sentiment of the card. That's how the Pokemon community works, right? That's how they work at a basic level. I'll give you an example. One of the first cards that I bought and I loved, and I did this by accident because I just loved the card and I didn't know about these things such as sentiment and markets and, you know, all these stuff. Well, the Pokemon card market, I should say. I've always been investing, but the Pokemon card market, I just bought it. I went up to the guy and I saw it and I really only knew about grading. And he said, I was like, oh, I don't know. I only really have $100 left. It was $90 at the time. And I said, oh, let me see something else. I really saw something else that caught my eye. Let me come back. The guy said to me, and I repeat, oh, you're the only guy that's looked at it. Nobody wants this card. Okay? Now, without me knowing it at the time, I purchased the Bubble Mew when sentiment was the lowest it could have ever been on that card. Everybody wanted the Charizard from Paldean Fates. Nobody was even looking at the Bubble Mew. Nobody even liked it, right? Now the card is thousands of dollars and everybody's like, I need the Bubble Mew. I need it. The Pokemon market gets told what to like, right? Through price, through Instagram, through TikTok. Their sentiment is reflected within the price, but always remember that will create future value for yourself as an investor. And that brings us to Chaos Rising. Now, how's sentiment on this set? Pretty bad. Pretty bad. So what has changed around Chaos Rising? Sentiment surrounding the set and Ultra Modern Pokemon as a whole has gone way down. The price of the set has followed suit and it's gone way down. It did have a second wave of printing, and as a result, more booster boxes have hit the market. Now, I don't do a lot of this work to see more booster boxes hitting the market, etc. I'm going to let you guys on a little secret, and it's Steel City Stacks. I think he's tremendous. I think he has a lot of great data that he creates using Excel sheets, etc. So I'll leave a link to his video that I watched regarding Chaos Rising and a lot of these sets, as well as a link to his channel. And I definitely suggest you guys subscribe to him. I think he's great. And I think a lot of the content that he's putting out is awesome. So go give him a look. So one of the things that he brought to my attention through his video was that a lot of the Chaos Rising booster boxes are being sold by hobby shops. So a lot of these hobby shops need to turn over this product in order to make not only room for other product, but to gain capital, right? Pay their employees, purchase other product, etc. And there's a lot of other TCGs out there, right? You have One Piece popping off, Magic the Gathering, The Hobbit is coming out very soon. So they need to purchase a lot of other product and they just need to create room for this product. And they're doing that by selling off a lot of their Chaos Rising. Now, as a result, the sentiment score of Chaos Rising has fallen off a cliff. And I think it's a great opportunity. And I'm going to be taking full advantage of it. Now, the Pokemon card hobby loves obvious. And so do I. Ascended Heroes, Destined Rivals, Prismatic Evolution are obvious. Obviously, there's always a risk in investing. And these sets could be printed into oblivion out of nowhere. And prices can plummet, etc. But what I mean by obvious is you don't need me or you don't need any other content creator to tell you, invest in these sets. They're good long-term, right? The sentiment around these sets is very high. People really like these sets. People like opening these sets, maybe not Prismatic because you don't open anything, but we get it. Now, me personally, I also think Chaos Rising is obvious. Now, it has a lot more risk compared to those other obvious plays I just showed you, but I've played these games before, right? I think a lot of you have as well. And I think if you're watching this video and you know where I'm going with this, you're licking your lips right now and you're trying to buy as much as you can, if a few other things are met, and we'll get into that later. But Greninja is extremely popular, and more people that enter the hobby every day grew up with them, right? Greninja came out in 2013, I believe, in the XY era. And the older those kids get, or those people get, the more money they'll have, hopefully, and the more sentiment will enter the hobby towards Greninja, etc. That's my bullish thesis on Greninja. Greninja has a connecting artwork of the evolution line, and near MSRP limits downside. Now, obviously, you could buy a box of Destined Rivals, but you could also buy 3 boxes of Chaos Rising, right? I think if you have a foundation of Destined Rivals or Prismatic and kind of sick of those sets, I really think Chaos Rising is worth the investment. I'm definitely part of that group and will be investing in Chaos Rising as a result. It has beautiful artwork. It's a small set, and supply is set in stone like any other Pokemon set. Once printing stops, supply will continue to be open, but no more will be printed. Now, I also want to talk to you guys about another thing, and that's the gold card. I don't think many people are talking about this gold card. So the gold card is pretty interesting to me because sentiment around them is obviously around all of these gold cards. I personally think they're hot dog water, but that doesn't mean that the future market thinks that, right? I think a lot of cards were not loved at the time that they were released, but later on, you can see where I'm going with this, right? What happens if this becomes really treasured down the line and is really loved by the community and sentiment on it flips? Now, you just created another reason to own Chaos Rising. Now, this is a long shot, but it is something that I've thought about because these gold cards are only available within these Mega Evolution sets. So it is unique to them, and it's just something to think about for both side of the story. Now, on the Beware side, we have Greninja does carry this set hard. If you remove Greninja from this set, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, right? So if down the line people actively are saying, I don't like this Greninja card, it aged poorly, this set will do poorly. So even if it goes up, it may go up $50, right? Greninja does carry this set hard. So future sentiment of this card has to also go up in order for this set to go up in value as well. Supply is currently high, and this set was printed a ton. We just saw that there's a lot more booster boxes on the market, but there's also the opportunity cost. How I was speaking with the near MSRP limits downside, there's also the other side of that. It's you could have invested that $500 into, let's say, Destined Rivals becomes $10,000 a booster box. That's going to suck, right? But I think if you have a good foundation of Destined Rivals or Prismatic or these obvious plays, I think that'll be okay, right? I think you'll be all right. The market could stay flat for 5 years, right? The set could not move we might move $10 in 5 years. That would not be great because you'd be getting wrecked by inflation. And something is only worth something in this Pokemon card hobby if somebody wants to buy it from you, right? So vendors, other people may not want this box in 5 years' time, and then you are not selling it, or you're not selling it for market price. That's for sure. So let's go over who Chaos Rising is for. I think it's for someone that has a position in Destined Rivals, Ascended Heroes, or Prismatic. I'll still be actively adding to these positions, but if you already have a good foundation in these sets, I think it's highly worth it to take a look at Chaos Rising and potentially invest in it. Not able to buy a healthy amount of the 3 obvious sets, right? They are expensive. That's why they're obvious, or, these obvious sets are obvious and as a result are expensive. So if you don't have a lot of money to invest within those sets, I think Chaos Rising could definitely be a good investment. And you're not looking to sell within the next 3 to 5 years. This might take a long time for this thesis to play out, but I always invest with a 3 to 5 year time horizon. Now, what will I be buying? Booster boxes, number 1. Pokemon Center ETBs, number 2. And booster bundles. Now, we have a $100 a week investing challenge on this channel. I'll potentially add these to that challenge. But I think stacking all 3 of these within reason, right? Always make sure to invest what you're able to. Don't go crazy. Don't go into debt for any of these boxes. I don't understand how people go into debt for Pokemon cards, putting all this stuff on credit cards, etc. Do not do that. Please don't do that. I won't be doing that. So these three things are the things that I will be buying, and obviously invest within your limits and only invest what you're willing to lose. So guys, I wanted to finish off here by just talking about some other overlooked sets, right? I love buying these overlooked sets, right? I invested in Stellar Crown when it released. I got it for MSRP, bought a couple boxes. Those are doing really well. They're at $360 the last time I looked, which is crazy to me. Shrouded Fable was another one. I invested in a few ETBs, and those are over $100 now. Thank you, Persian. And also Journey Together. Everybody remembers how much people hated this set. And now it's about $300 a booster box. So these overlooked sets, man, they could do pretty well, right? I think we're also seeing that with Pitch Black. I think there's some value there, maybe a future video on that, but let's see how, Pitch Black plays out. It was just released. I opened it. I actually opened up, let me see if I can find it here right in the stack. Oh, I opened them up. My slow bro, I got him. I got him in one of my packs. So that was awesome. That was the one card that I really wanted. One of my favorite cards from the set. I think Chaos Rising is part of that overlooked set list right now. But I just wanted to go big screen quickly and just kind of tell you guys something to finish off the video here. So I just wanted to finish off this video by saying I'd rather be wrong investing in a hobby I believe in than be right by sitting on the sidelines. Because the only way to short Pokemon cards is to not participate. And that's just not who I am. And if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. I'll learn from it for the next time. As investors, you do not need to be 100% right every time. It's okay to be wrong. Guys, remember, invest smart, collect what you love. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.